So this first pose is called downward facing dog. You'll come onto all fours. You want the wrists underneath the shoulders and the knees underneath the hips, about hip width distance apart. Curl your toes under, spread your fingers wide and place pressure into the ends of the fingers, the middle knuckles, and the base of each finger. Pull your belly in and then send the hips back and up. Let the heels descend down towards the floor. Keep the belly pulled in strong to support the low back, and if you're really grippy in your hamstrings, you can always slightly bend your knees to modify to start. Then from here, imagine you have your hands on top of jars, and you're trying to open the tops of the jars away from each other. In doing so, you'll start to feel some softness across the shoulder blades. Pull the belly in as you start to press your hands down and away from you to send the chest back towards the feet. Then from here, if you feel more openness in your back, you can start to just send the heels back down to build a little flexibility and strength around the hips and to start to lengthen the hamstrings. So that one is downward facing dog. This next pose is upward facing dog. So you'll actually have your hands underneath your shoulders. Take your legs out long behind you, and then you're going to uncurl the toes to press the tops of the feet into the floor. Pull your belly in, and then take your shoulders back as the hips reach forward. Take your elbow creases to spin them to face forward. Spread the fingers wide. Shoulders back, chin slightly up, belly pulls in as you start to hug the shoulder blades towards each other. Keep pressing the feet down into the mat to get a nice deep stretch across the fronts of those hips. So this one is called upward facing dog. This next pose is called crescent lunge. So you're going to come up to a standing position, step your right foot forward, left leg is back. Gently bend the right knee and bring the arms up. Now if this is too much pressure across the front of your left hip, gently bend that left knee, that back knee, and then drop the hips down a little bit lower. Tuck your tailbone, pull your belly in, and give some space across those shoulders. So bring the arms out wider, spin the palms to face them back behind you. Take the shoulders back and down. If you're okay here, maybe play with it. See if you can find more openness across the front of that left hip by gently pressing through the left heel to extend the left leg back. But don't lose the stability within the hips. So gently tuck the tailbone under, pull the belly in. Hug your inner thighs in towards one another. Hold here, deep breaths, pressing through both feet. Feel the extension up and out through the crown of the head as you hug the inner thighs towards one another. So this one is called crescent lunge. This pose is called pigeon. So you're going to come up to all fours, wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Take your right knee and bring it behind your right wrist. Keeping your right knee where it is, send your left leg back just a little bit. And in that movement, then take your left ankle and place it underneath your left hip. Send your left leg back further. You might want to have a block to place underneath the right sit bone at this point. You may choose to stay here. If you want to open the front of that left hip, very gently walk your hands back, belly pulls in, roll the shoulders back, and take your hips forward and down. If you want to open up the outside of your right hip a little deeper, then very gently start to walk your hands forward. Maybe you place a block underneath your forearms from here. Maybe that's plenty for you. Maybe you start to walk your arms out even further. The fullest expression of the pose is to have the arms out in front of you. You can bring your hands together and bring the forehead down to the floor. Deep breaths here. On the exhale, make sure to allow that right hip to sink down a little bit deeper. Slow your breathing down. And instead of dodging and kind of trying to get away from the sensations that you're getting, can you stay here and breathe? Bump right up to the edge of tension, but most definitely not pain. And always back off and listen to your body if it's too much for those hips. The last pose we'll go over is called happy cow face. So you're going to take your left ankle, bring it to the outside of your right hip. Take your right ankle, bring it over top that left leg to the outside of the left hip. Now for some of you, this right knee may be all the way up towards your collarbone, and that's fine. It's not really what the pose looks like, it's what it feels like for you. So depending on where you are, stacking the knees. Then from here, raise up your right arm, bend the elbow, bring the right palm towards the back. Bring your left arm around behind you, press the back of the left hand into the back, And then start to circle that left wrist around up the back to try to go for the bind to bring the hands together. Gently press the head into that right arm. Deep breaths here. If you like to go deeper in the pose, take an inhale. Exhale, belly pulls in to gently bring the spine down. Straight spine the whole time, lead with the nose. And stay here for a few breaths. Inhale to slowly come back up. Be very gentle and mindful with your knees, so unwind the arms slowly. Take that right leg off first, then the bottom leg, and then switch it out to go to the other side. So that one's called Gomukhasana.